What's going to happen to the Israelites? Their children are going to be taken. They're going to sit there and cry, but not have the power to go take them back. But here we go again. It's fitting the same group of people. We got the Haitians down there right now, starting the same thing is starting to happen with the Haitians, and they don't got the power to go get it back. They getting whipped with horse reins right now, and separated from their families, and getting deported back to Haiti and all that. Kids stay here, parents go back to Haiti. Same thing, and they ain't got the might to go get their kids back. But that's what God said was going to happen to the Israelites, right? Read now, give me 48.
Deuteronomy 28:48. Therefore shalt thou serve thine enemy.
God said we're going to serve who?
Thine enemy.
So God said we're going to have to, the Israelites are going to have to serve their enemies, right?
Which the Lord shall send against thee in hunger and in thirst.
He said we're going to have to serve the enemy that he sends against us in hunger and in thirst. Whenever you get hungry, whenever you want to get a bite to eat, where do you go to get your food? Where you get it at? Who? You go to the store. Who owns the stores? The whites, right? Who owns the fields that make the store, that provides the stores? But who owns it? The whites, right? So whenever you're hungry, you got to go to them. But God said they were who? The enemies, right? He said you're going to have to serve thine enemies. And we got to serve the so-called whites for food and in thirst, right? It rains out the sky for free, but if you collect water, they'll give you a fine. You got to depend on them for the water. Who you pay your LP&L bill to? Who runs LP&L? The whites, right? Who owns the Siny, Aquafina? Who owns all those? God owns the water, but who's getting paid for you buying a Dasani? What race of people? The so-called whites, but God called them your enemies, right? And he said you're going to have to say your enemy in hunger and thirst.
And in nakedness.
And in nakedness. Whenever you want clothes, who do you got to go get your clothes from if you go get them from the store? You have to work for it out in the field, but then when you get your money, you go buy the clothes from who? Who owns that? The whites own the store, right? You said you got down here, our families got down here from chopping cotton, right? So we did all that work in the field chopping cotton. Did we determine the price of cotton? Did we tell them, okay, we're going to chop this much cotton and this is how much I want for it? Or do they set the price of what you got to get for that cotton?
Where you go?
They set the price, right? They control who gets it. They control the price on it, right? Even though you do all the labor, right? So you got to go to them for that, for your clothes. And they go get the same cotton you got, process it and sell it back to you as a t-shirt. So the money that they paid you for it, now the same cotton you pick, you buying it back in the form of a t-shirt. You give them right back the money, right? And God said you're going to have to do that to your enemies, right? Read.
And in nakedness, and in want of all things.
In want of all things. So you got a nice car right there. Who do you have to get that from? What dealer? Who owns the dealership where the car came from? Who owned by who? What race? The Mexicans own Dodge. The whites own Dodge, right? If you want a driver's license, a birth certificate, a death certificate, an education, all those things, who do you got to go to get those things? Whites. We don't run none of that, right? But God said the Israelites were going to have to go to their enemies for all these things, right? But the blacks and Hispanics, we got to go to the whites. So that's letting us know who God's telling you your enemy. God is telling you who your enemy is right here. We got to accept it, right? And what else he said that enemy going to do?
And he shall put a yoke of iron upon thy neck until he have destroyed thee.
He said he going to put a yoke of iron upon thy neck, right? If you look at this, who was putting yokes of iron on people's necks? The whites, right? On the blacks and the Hispanics. So when they came over here with the Native American Indians and the Mexicans, they did the same thing to them. We get depictions of the so-called blacks in slavery with the shackle, but it happened to those Mexicans too. Because we are the same people. We are the 12 tribes of Israel. And God said these curses was going to happen to the 12 tribes of Israel. And so if you look at all the things that happened to us, it's happened to you. And these signs are for the Israelites, but it seems to always be happening to who? The blacks and the Hispanics, right? Not everybody, just us, right? Right, so watch this. Give me Deuteronomy 28:68. How did so-called black people get to America? By boats, right? How did the so-called Hispanics, get to Spain in Europe? By boats, right? In slavery, right? Now let's see if that's written in the Bible. Because remember, these are signs that's going to happen to the Israelites, right? Watch this, read.
Deuteronomy 28:68.
This is what God said was going to happen to the Israelites.
And the Lord shall bring thee into Egypt again.
He said the Lord's going to bring you to Egypt again. Remember, I told you this was when Moses was bringing us out of Egypt, right? So he said, if you break these commandments, I'm going to put you in Egypt again. What were the Israelites doing in Egypt? You remember Moses was saying, let my people go? Why did he have to say, let my people go? Because they were doing what?
Well, most of them disobeying the law and all that kind of stuff.
Yes, but what was their status in Egypt? They were what? Watch this. I'm going to show you, according to the Bible, what they were doing in Egypt, what Egypt means according to the Bible. Watch this.
Deuteronomy 5 and 6. I'm the Lord thy God, which brought thee out of the land of Egypt from the house of bondage.
He said, I brought you out of the land of Egypt from the house of bondage. So Egypt, God called Egypt the house of bondage. What does bondage mean? Prison or slavery, right? If somebody has you in bondage, that means they have you in slavery, right? So God called Egypt the house of slavery.
What club was that at?
That was admit that a lot of people don't even realize they.
I've called her. She hasn't responded. I've called her more than a few times.
With the Zulu nation, I'm like, what the hell is this? I know nobody know what I'm talking about. You'll leave me on the island by myself. I don't know what the hell Bishop's talking about. That's what y'all do. Then after class, yeah, I knew what you were talking about. I just don't want to be caught out there. The hell is this? Get on my damn nerves. So read that again.
Right? So now let's go back to Deuteronomy and see what God meant when he said what he said. Read.
And the Lord shall bring thee into Egypt
or slavery
again with ships.
Whoa, he said he's going to bring the Israelites to slavery again with ships. How did the blacks get over here? By boat or ships, right? Slave ships, right? And then how do we say the Mexicans got, the Spanish got to Spain? By boats, right? By ships, right? But Moses is telling the Israelites that what's going to happen?
And the Lord shall bring thee into Egypt
slavery
again with ships.
On slave ships. So God told the Israelites they were going into slavery on slave ships if they break these commandments. Read.
By the way whereof I spake unto thee, thou shalt see it no more again.
And the way he's telling you going to get the kingdom, you're going to get to the promised land, you're not going to see it no more again. Once you go into get on these ships and go into captivity, you're not ever going to go back to your homeland. Have we ever been back to West Africa? Have we ever been back to Jerusalem? We didn't even know Jerusalem was our land. We never been back there as a people, right? Read.
And thou shalt see it no more again. And there,
once you get off those ships, once those ships docked, right? We was over here, and wherever the ships docked, he said, there,
ye shall be sold unto your enemies.
You're going to be sold unto your enemies. Who do we say the enemy was earlier in the chapter? The whites. Who did we get sold to in slavery? The whites, right? But remember, this is the Israelites, right? They're going to be sold to their enemies.
For bond men and bond women.
For slave men and slave women.
And no man shall buy you.
And no man's going to be able to save you once you get out on slave ships. To buy means to save or redeem. So since we got over here and got off those ships, have we been saved out of these cursed conditions that we're in? We have Malcolm X, Martin Luther King, Marcus Garvey, Cesar Chavez, David Sanchez. All these people rose up to try to save us, but did it work? Why? Because God said, and no man is going to save you. So now we're going through all these curses to show the signs of the Israelites. And he showed us these as signs to know who the Israelites are, right? And we went through it. You saw all these signs seem to fit one group of people, right? So Moses said these things were going to happen to the Israelites, and we're the only people that fit these signs. Now, if I ask you, what's your nationality, Junior, what would you say it is? You still say your nationality is Hispanic? According to the Bible, what would you say your nationality is? A Mexican? Was Moses talking to Mexicans? He was talking to who? Watch this. Let me show you who he was talking to. Give me Deuteronomy 1 and 1. We got to show you who Moses was talking to, because we was going through it. You was with me. Then we get to the end, and you kind of got shaky on me. You was with me. I thought we was on there together, right? So remember, all the curses was happening to who? It's one group of people, and that's going to show the sign of who Israel is. Let's see who Moses was talking to. Watch this. Let's see if he was talking to Mexicans or Hispanics or blacks or what. Read.
Deuteronomy 1 and 1. These be the words which Moses spake unto all Israel.
So who was Moses talking to? All Israel, right? So when he went to those curses and said, you're going to go through these curses if you break the commandments, he was talking to who? All Israel, right? And now we're figuring out that these curses that he wrote about fits us. So who would that make us? We are the Israelites. That's who Moses was talking to. Moses was talking to the Israelites and said, all these things are going to happen to you for breaking the commandments. And it happened to us. We're the only people that it happened to in the whole world. So he was letting us know, even though you're not called Israel no more. Oh, give me that real quick. 28:37. This is another curse. Calling ourselves Hispanics and Mexicans and black. This is another thing that Moses said was going to happen for breaking God's commandments. Watch this.
Deuteronomy 28:37. And thou shalt become an astonishment, a proverb, and a byword.
The word byword means a name outside of your God-given name. A name outside of Issachar, Judah, Benjamin, Levi, Manasseh, Simeon. A name outside of that. So on that sign, if you look at what God called us, Hispanic is not there. Mexican is not there. African American is not there. Black is not there, right? Mexican is not in the Bible. He's talking to the Israelites, and he said, you're going to be called a byword for breaking my commandments. Now you're going to call yourself Hispanic.
Right.
Now you're going to call yourself Mexican because you didn't keep the commandments of God. But if we kept the commandments of God, then you would know you were from the tribe of Issachar. You're an Israelite. That's what you got to realize, Junior. That's what we out here showing you with the Bible. Moses was telling the Israelites, this is going to happen to you for breaking the commandments, and it happened to us. We the same people that Moses was talking to way back then. That's how we know, because he said, this is what's going to happen to you, and it happened to us. So you're not a Hispanic. That's what you got to get out of your mind. That's what you've been taught you were Hispanic. You were taught you were Mexican, but God said you're an Israelite from the tribe of Issachar. That's the greatest thing to be called in the whole earth. Why? Deuteronomy 7:6. Let me show you why it's a beautiful thing to be called an Israelite from the tribe of Issachar, and not a Mexican, and not a Hispanic. Watch. Read.
Deuteronomy 7:6. For thou art the only people unto the Lord thy God.
God said the Israelites are a holy people unto the Lord thy God.
The Lord thy God hath chosen thee to be a special people unto himself.
He said he chose you to be special to himself. He didn't choose a Hispanic or a Mexican. He chose the Israelites to be special unto himself.
Above all people that are upon the face of the earth.
And he chose us to be above all people that are upon the face of the earth. That's why we got to get back to calling ourselves Israelites and not Mexicans and not Hispanics. Because Mexican and Hispanic don't hold no value. That means property of Spain. That means your mind is still owned by the Spaniards, which are the same enemies that God told us in the Bible. That's the same people that got a stronghold on our mind. Mexican means mixed people. They told you were mixed people. But they never told you were a son of God. That's the beautiful thing, that you were chosen by God, that God chose you to be above all nations. That's the knowledge that we got to get back to.
We used to scream black power while heroin was pushed. But at the end of the day, nothing's in vain. IUIC has been given a vision. The tents of Judah has risen. Many has attempted the mission, minor murmuring, omitting, and missing the mark. Just reading that he had the flame of fire in his eyes gave us the spark. We on Paul's mission. We out on the road, purple and gold, from Mexico, Cuba, Haiti, Ghana, Sierra Leone. 144,000 boots banging, concrete crackling. These are how men repented at heart. The scriptures is proof. IUIC, we deliver the truth.